Hey team, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader podcast. This is your host Mark Jewell, and today I'm really excited about this episode for you guys. This is going to be a barn burner, I believe. I'm prophesying a little bit over the episode here, but I think it's going to be that way. I'm joined by my good friend Jake Underwood. He is the president and CEO of Sulvaris. You get to learn a little bit more about who he is and what they do at Sulvaris here in just a little bit. But Jake, welcome to the show.
Mark, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. Have looked forward to this for a long time.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to watch many of the episodes, and certainly have worked with you and your team on sales training and various activities of the past. So thanks for letting me join today.
Love it, man. It's going to be great. You guys are in for a treat. Let's get it started. Jake, what does it mean for you to be intentional?
Intentional for me, Mark, is having an extreme focus, discipline, and really an overall obsession about the specific actions and tactics that I need to take or we need to take as a team, as an organization to achieve our goals. And notice I said it's not the setting of the goal. Goals are important. We always are setting goals. Every company, every person is setting goals. It doesn't take much skill or talent to do that. That's just standard process. What I'm talking about and being intentional is that discipline and dedication of those specific actions and items that will give us the best opportunity to achieve that outcome.
Yeah. We are super aligned on this, and I wish we had more than 35 minutes to just make this one. We're definitely doing, we already talked about doing a part 2 and maybe a part 3, but man, so extreme focus, discipline, and almost like being obsessive over the actions that go into creating whatever it is that you're trying to create.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, phenomenal stuff. I want to unpack that just a little bit before we move on. So extreme focus. Okay. What does that mean?
You know what the goal is. You've aligned as a team, or you've set your own personal goal. I want personally to be so laser focused on what those actions are that help me achieve that goal, and the things that are not in my control or things that do not relate to that goal, they are not part of my mindset. I am not spending time on those. I'm cognizant of them because they may impact that goal somehow, but they have absolutely zero impact on my personal actions that will lead me to achieving that goal.
Yeah.
And those actions are 100% in my ability or my control in processing or completing. And I have 100% accountability in doing those. So if I achieve that goal or those actions at the end of the day, or if I don't, that is on me. I'm accountable for that and supporting my team and being able to do those. So that focus is those things I have control over. And again, the things that do not relate to that goal, I'm not spending time on those. They are not part of my process.
Yeah. I'm riding right there with you. I think, maybe it's just age, maturity, you getting to where you're starting to kind of see the back half of your career, whatever that might look like,
Yes.
But I think about it this way. Like I really care a lot more now than I ever have about what gets to go on my calendar. As an example, if it's not moving the mission forward or something that I've been divinely guided to put on my calendar, like it's just not getting on there these days.
Yeah. We have to be really disciplined in building those filters of what matters. How do we prioritize those things that matter? And then things that don't, we got to be able to say no to. And that was one of the hardest things, and something I made a ton of mistakes throughout my career. I'm trying to continue to improve. I make mistakes every day. But one of the things that I've really tried to work on is getting better at saying no And that means saying no to things that do not align or not
Mm-hmm.
part of that process
Yeah.
to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then I'm not going to spend any time or bandwidth on
Yep. 100%. Yes. I love it. What can I say no to today?
it. Yes. And that's
Right?
not easy
It's
because
not.
we want naturally as people or as leaders,
Mm-hmm.
we want to please. We have a team to support. You have shareholders, you have a board, you have
Mm-hmm.
direct reports, you have peers within an organization. And we have to wear a lot of hats as leaders and as managers. And so saying no can be very difficult,
Yeah.
right?
Big time.
But we have to really understand the importance of those specific things and those meetings that we attend and those calls that we take and
Mm-hmm.
those areas where we invest. And are those the most impactful to ourselves? Are those the
Right.
most impactful to our team and our organization to achieve the highest level of success
Yeah.
that we can?
Yeah. Big time. We've got a 4D worksheet literally that we can print off. All of our people have. We give this to all of our executive coaching clients. It's the 4Ds. I've talked about it on the show before, but
Uh-huh.
it's if it's 2 minutes or less, you do it, right? Just
Okay.
handle it, right? Don't even write it
Yep.
on your list. Just do it. If it's can it be deferred, right? Is it something
Mm.
that can be deferred, right?
Yep.
So it's important, but it's not urgent, right? So it's in that old Stephen Covey top left frame, top left quadrant of the framework.
Sure. Yep.
Right. So can I defer it to later, but then, put it on my calendar for tomorrow or the next week or next month or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
So we got do, defer, and then what can I delegate? Right.
Uh,
Is there something? And a lot of people I know are just holding on to things because you're afraid that somebody will not do it to the level of excellence that you would do it with. And then there's going to be rework. And
mm-hmm.
it's all well and good. You solve the problem for today, but you don't solve the problem next time it comes around. Right. So when you're not
Right.
delegating some of those things that are on your list, that maybe somebody who you have that you're prepping for future leadership maybe could take some of that off your plate. As an example, there's lots of ways to delegate, of course. But that's one. That's one that I think of often. Who am I prepping by
Yeah.
actually delegating things off to and properly training to do those? And then the last one is ditch. And this is my favorite one.
Okay.
What can I ditch? What can I get rid of?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's do, defer, delegate, or ditch.
That's
And we,
spot on.
yeah,
Really
you
good.
got to start thinking about things through that filter. So more, because it gets us focused on the right actions, which was your third point. Have the discipline to do it. That's the 50.
Yep.
Right? And then get focused on the right actions. All right, talk to us a little bit about your background, Jake. Bring us up to speed on Sulvaris. I know you guys are in a lot of stuff, but a lot of people may not necessarily know your brand. So I want to
Yeah.
give you a little
You,
stage to talk about that.
you bet. Thanks, Mark. First, been blessed throughout my entire career. I've worked for some great organizations. You can go back in my bio or
Mm-hmm.
my history resume, LinkedIn, private companies, public companies. I've done some startups, VC, PE. Um, I've been fortunate that I have got to work under some great leaders who have really mentored me, coached me, and without those leaders that I had worked under, would never have the opportunities that I have today. With that, I've also worked alongside some great, talented employees from seed, fertilizer, chemicals, proprietary products. And so those people have all been very instrumental in terms of their leadership and helping to guide and help mold and create me into the type of leader that
Mm-hmm.
I am or the type of leader that I want to become today. Um, Very fortunate work for Sulvaris. I joined Sulvaris in late 2021, took over as the president CEO in 2023. So just finished my second year of that.
Yep.
Um, Very supportive, very fortunate to work under our board and chair there, our valued shareholders, and we have a extremely talented team at Sulvaris, from our executive group through our agronomy and our engineering and technical team that is very passionate, very innovative, and focused on solving problems and creating new innovation and solution for products ahead. We've got 2 product platforms. MST, it's a micronized sulfur technology that's commercially available, and it's focused on many different ROI or value proposition in terms of improved fertilizer efficiency, nutrient utilization,
Sure.
obviously on-farm yield increases. We've
Hmm.
got another technology called CCT. It's a carbon technology, still in some earlier stages, but we've been working hard to further develop that technology. So we've done a lot of great things across the time frame that
Yeah.
Sulvaris and over the last couple of years have made a lot of innovation. I'm really, really excited to be part of this team and
Cool.
see what we can do in the future. So
Love it, man. Awesome. Well, I love to hear it. Love what you guys are up to.
thank you.
That's good stuff. All right, I wanna dive a little bit deeper into this. You and I are talking off camera a little bit about some of the challenges that I think, I mean, most organizations are probably having right now,
Hmm.
given the current ag economy. Like let's call it what it is. There's a bit of a correction happening out there.
Hmm.
From with some of the larger entities, have let people go. I've been talking to a lot of folks in ag retail. They're like, hey, where did my rep go?
Yes.
My retail guys are talking to growers all the time, and so there's just a lot of conversations that aren't always the most comfortable. At the end of
Hmm.
the day, we're still going to put a crop in the ground as it looks from Twitter. From what I can tell, everybody across the country is getting ready to plant right now.
Yep.
So we're still farming. And at the same time, like, it doesn't, from the business end of things, it's not the most comfortable to go through a lower commodity price time frame like we're doing right now, a season where there are, reductions in force in some cases.
Hmm.
Customers are making maybe more discerned decisions
Hmm.
as it pertains to, resource allocation. And certainly every dollar matters, as it
Yeah.
always does, but it matters more when there seems to be fewer of them going around, right?
Right.
uh Man, I want to bring it back to what we were talking about. But like, from a as a seasoned leader, you've led sales teams. Like, how do we keep our mindsets in the right place? Let's start there. How do we keep our mindsets in the right place, or how do we help our teams keep their mindsets in the right place as we navigate tougher waters?
Yeah. First, I think obviously we've been in this industry for quite some time. Date myself, it's been 26, 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I don't think in any role I've ever been in, I can ever think back to a year where we didn't have headwinds.
Yeah.
This is agriculture. It's one of the reasons I love this industry. Because compared to a lot of other industries, we have so many challenges we're faced with every day that many of those are out of our control. Whether you're a farmer, whether you're in
Mm-hmm.
ag retail, it's weather, it's a wet spring, it's a drought, it's commodity prices, it's fertilizer, it's inventory. I mean, it's interest rates. We have that every single year. And as an industry, we're always very resilient, right? And
Yeah.
we figure out a way to get it done. So that's first and foremost. So I would say what we're facing today may be a little bit out of the norm, but in the grand scheme of things, this is not new to us.
Right.
And we've seen this battle before, and we're a resilient industry. So we will figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Um, because of that, I think it's even more so important that we focus on, again, what do we have control over? If I'm a sales rep or I'm a farm center manager or I'm in manufacturing, what do I own? What do I have control over? And how do I maximize my impact and efficiency in those areas?
Mm-hmm.
And filter out the noise of things that are not relative to me and my sales territory or my business. So that's first and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then because of that, if I can remain, you know, very disciplined and focus on my controllables, what things am I doing every day that can provide more value to that farmer, so she
Mm-hmm.
or he sees a value in, what Mark brings to the table. Is it a
Right.
new hybrid? Is it a new proprietary technology? Is there
Mm-hmm.
something new that I'm doing to differentiate myself from everybody else?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, at the end of the day, if there is cost cutting, if there's pulling back, we still have to find a way to maximize yield or
Yeah.
maximize on-farm income, or if I'm in retail, have to figure out a way to maximize our profitability.
Yeah.
And what products am I going to focus on? What type of innovation? What can I do differently than what everybody else is
Hmm.
doing? So those challenges, those headwinds, I think are always going to be there.
Yeah.
Again, for us, what do we have control over, and what personally can I do to create more value and solutions for my customer?
Yeah. I love it, man. Because yeah, what I see so many people do is we get really caught up in the muck and the mire
Yeah.
around sort of this macro problem, right?
Yep.
And
Sure.
so when I talk to people, say on like our coaching calls, like, well, nobody wants to do anything right now.
Mm.
Nobody's selling grain today.
Hmm.
Everybody's thinking negatively right now. And
Yep.
so this becomes kind of the right that's so when you're looking at it through a macro lens,
Hmm.
right? It probably does look that way. Like there's not a lot of great news.
Sure.
It's like, oh,
Yep.
maybe the markets aren't that reflective of a great thing. You're not hearing a lot of positive, like, hey, I'm ready to go invest a whole bunch of money with you right now, kind of thing. That's not always maybe that's not the normal conversation that you would have more frequently when it's $7 corn versus $4 corn, right?
Sure.
Or
Yep.
whatever. And then you got all the news coming out of DC. So there's all this
Hmm.
noise, all this macro stuff. So when when our head is in that, and I hear these everyone or nobody, right, or all the time, that's
Hmm.
how I know when somebody is tuning in to the mainstream conversation and they're doing the opposite of what you just said, which is focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Right? They're looking at all the things they can't control. Well, guess what? I can't control the commodity prices. I can't control what's going on in DC. Most of us voted for it that listen to this show, and so you sort of signed up for the program, and so you did do something about it, but now you can't do anything about it. And so what can I control? So let's dive into that, because that's the part. Like, I think if somebody could really get that today, Jake
Hmm.
could really dial in on, like, okay, well, what are the controllables? How do I control these things? My mind immediately goes to, and I'll kick it off with this. Years ago, I remember we were coaching a grain origination team. It was during a particularly boring market, very little
Hmm.
volatility, right? So just not a lot happening, like a little bit here or there, but not a lot of bushels moving. And so we coached them through that time. We're like, nobody's buying, nobody's wanting to sell anything right now, right? We're like, but just stay on it. What can you control? You can't
Yeah.
control the market, but don't stop calling, because guess what? Your competition, they're getting frustrated too, so they're going to stop calling. So
Hmm.
so keep going out and be conversational, be a friend of these people, build
Yeah.
relationships, find out what's going on. Run into them at the high school football game or cross country meet, or pick your thing, right? Like, get
Hmm.
engaged, get out there and do things. And every single time, without fail, Jake, the companies, the individuals who do that, and the companies that make that a part of their culture, they win every time the market moves more than everybody else.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
if they would just go and do some things, I just do the things that you can control. So I can't control the big macro stuff, but I can go to work on the things I can do.
Yeah, you got to find those glimmers in a difficult market, and all of
Mhm.
those things happening right now, like you said, all the noise. What are the one or two things that are positive or can be positive in the future? And how do I go start to position those things in those sales calls?
Yeah.
How do I start to talk about that? And when the markets turn, we should really be looking to do this, because based on your yields last year, you made this investment that was a 3 to 5 ROI, right? So let's start talking and planning for that. And how do I prepare myself for that sales call? Like, if I leaving one sales call and I turn on Fox News, CNN, or whatever it is, and for the next 30 minutes driving to the next call, I'm filling my head with all of that noise and that distraction. When I
Yeah.
step onto that farm or I go to that next retail center, where is my mindset at?
Oh Lord. Yeah.
I'm caught in it.
Yeah.
right? So instead, what can I be doing during that 30-minute drive in between those sales calls that's going to help me prepare, help me have the right mindset, help me have the right
Mhm.
actions and triggers when I come in, that I am there to talk about these two or three things that we actually have control over today,
Yeah.
or these things that could be a great investment, and how do we plan for this?
Hmm.
I don't want to get caught up in what I just listened to on the radio for the last 20 to 30 minutes that have
Right.
absolutely nothing to do with what we are trying to do right here, which is to have a connection and a relationship, and that I'm a trusted partner to help you be more profitable.
For sure,
So
man.
that's the stuff we got to limit,
Yeah.
right? That has nothing to do with increasing my personal performance
Right.
for my next call or helping me be a better performer to support our team objectives.
Hmm.
All that's going to do is drag me into that sewer cycle of
Correct.
all the things that I want, we're going to get spun into. So
Yeah.
again, that's back to your 4Ds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Displace. Those are things we need to displace or
Ditching.
dismantle, get
Yeah.
rid of, that
Hmm.
have nothing to do with what our main objective is.
Yeah. 100%.
And
Man,
that's in work and personal life as
yeah,
well. I mean, that transpires into everything.
100%. I mean, so one of the very simplest things you could do today that you can control is what apps do you allow on your phone, and
Yep.
and then if you allow them on your phone, allow them to have notifications that are pinging you all the time. If you've got your Fox News app or your CNN app or pick your news channel going off like all the time, you're getting sucked into it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and like, so you can't control what they're putting out, but you can control whether or not to engage with it. I remember it was years ago. I don't even remember how long, probably 7 years ago now. I just I was actually on a retreat, and my notifications kept going off for like ESPN and Fox News and all the things. I'm like, I'm supposed to be relaxing here, and I'm on this retreat, and I'm just like getting sucked into these headlines. And so I just right there, I deleted it, and I've never put it back on.
Yeah, me
With the
either.
exception, I will put on ESPN during the college football season to pay attention to my college teams that I care about, and that's it. Because I'm not a big. I mean, I used to be a big sports guy. I'm just not, and I still love sports, but I'm not a big like, I'm all in. I've got a daughter who's trying to play college ball, so I'm paying a little bit more attention
Good
to
for
that for
you.
volleyball now. But
That's a really good analogy, Mark. I like that one in that. Let's use that for an example for a couple minutes.
yeah,
Right now, we're in the middle of March Madness,
yeah,
right?
yep,
Final Four is this weekend, whether you're men or women, right? And you've got, let's say, four teams. This goes back to setting goals
yep,
versus being disciplined and focused on action and things that you have control over. So
sure, yep,
think about it. Those four teams coming in, I would venture to say every one of those teams had a goal coming into the season, November, December, that said, our goal is to win a national championship. Like at a minimum, it's to get to the Final Four, but every one of those teams, whether you're Duke or you're Houston or Auburn or Florida, it was to win a national championship, right? They've all set the same goal. And so what's going to separate those teams in the next week and a half is not that they had a different goal than one another.
mm-hmm.
What's going to separate, two teams next week will be sitting at home watching the championship game because they're gone.
Yep,
And then there's going to be one team sitting in the locker room after the game, and they're going to have their head down and they're going to be asking themselves, what could I have done different? What should I have done better?
mm-hmm.
All the questions of why didn't we win?
Yep,
And then you're going to have a team that's on the floor, and that team is cutting down the nets, right? And they've
yep,
got the trophy. They're wearing the fresh national championship hats, right? And they're celebrating. And the difference between those four teams, Mark, is not the way they set goals or
mm-hmm.
what the goal was.
Yep,
The difference between the championship team and the team in the locker room with their head down is how disciplined and how focused or how
mm-hmm.
obsessed were they about the tactics and actions they had to take to win the game.
Yep,
And what I mean by that is all the way from every single player to every coach is how much game film did they watch on their opponent?
Yep.
What was their strategy, how to play defense or offense? What type of plays did they call?
Right.
If you're a player, it's all the details. And again, these are all things they have control over,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're not spending time thinking about where are we playing? What time is the game? What are the referees going to be like? What's the floor going to be like? That's all stuff out of their control. What
Yep.
they are, I mean, so discipline focused on is all the things in preparation they can do to achieve that goal.
100%.
What am I eating today? 5 or 6 meals? How many calories? How much protein? Did I drink my gallon of water? What
Mm-hmm.
was my practice session? What was my weight session?
Yep.
What was my conditioning? Right? Did I go in the sauna today? Did I do the ice bath? Like every one of those things that they are focused on, and those are 100% in their control.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them is what's going to give them the best opportunity to be cutting down those nets.
Yeah.
And if it does not relate to those things, I would
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you those players or those coaches are spending very little time thinking about it
Yeah.
or involved with it.
Yeah. It doesn't get the
And
mind
that is
share.
all that matters to them. And so for them, a whole nother conversation we should have another time is on balance.
Mm-hmm.
There is no balance for them right now, what some people consider balance in their life, because they know the most important thing to them right now is winning
Mm-hmm.
and that championship. And all they are committed to are those specific tactics and actions that are going to help them personally play their best that night
Right.
and help the team overall win. And so I think that mindset translates into so many different things, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a manager, a leader, your personal life, your personal goals. It's that relentless focus and dedication to these are the things I can control. These are the actions and tactics
Yep.
that I need to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be so disciplined in those that anything that counteracts that, I have to keep that noise outside.
Right.
Otherwise, it will impact my performance or my customers' performance.
Right. I So I want to unpack this by just starting with this. You know what you're describing, right? To be able to go and play at that championship level, like we all observe that, and we're like, man, that's, like everybody's got their opinions too, depending on who you are and what your focus in life is. Like some
Right.
people are super judgmental of people operating at that stage, like you have anything close to what these guys have going on right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And others are super encouraging. We're happy our team's there, or whatever the case may be. But
Yeah.
what I where I see there start to be a disconnect, and there shouldn't be, but where I start to see there be a disconnect is if we take that context and now let's go apply that to business.
Mm-hmm.
Too many professionals don't see themselves as professionals,
Mm.
right? Well, we
Okay.
see it on TV, right? Or I see
Yeah.
it of the CEO, and I expect them, right, to be showing up like professionals, to play like champions,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's a good chunk of people, and I'm speaking to the leaders in the room that are listening to this right now. There's a good chunk of people on your team that haven't made the decision to show up and play like a pro,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
play like a champ. And that's where I'm like, what you're talking about is so important, Jake. Because we've all got the goal. Everybody, the goal is to win, whether it's to win the national championship or to go win the acres, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
to go win the tons or to
Mm-hmm.
go win the units or whatever, right? We're all competing and we're
Yeah.
all playing in the game. And really it is important that we break this down into, so what's the focus? What's the discipline? What are the actions?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Are you focused? Are you obsessed on what these actions are? And the harsh reality is that there's a reason a show like this is needed and so many people listen to it, because they're not getting it done.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know what those intentional actions are often even. or we're running so hard, and this is what come over your balance, which is going to be our next show, which we're going to do sometime soon, right? But we're so unbalanced that we don't have time to think about what those actions should be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where I see a lot of the breakdown for folks. But I love where we're going with this because, man, it's like, I think about it this way. I mean, I always looked up to, of course, we came up when Jordan and Kobe were the sort of the little G gods of the NBA, right?
Right.
But the reality is, why were they good, man? Well, they were there in the gym at 4:00 every morning, shooting hundreds, if not thousands, of shots.
Relentless
Relentless.
pursuit to be the best at their craft. And doesn't matter what the craft is, if you truly want to be the best, whether it's a leader, you want to be the best salesperson, the best husband, father, you have to make the investment and you will get out what you put in. We say that all the time. You and I talked about this before we jumped on today. And so, I think I'd like to learn more, from you and hearing that comment you made around, some of the feedback or what you're recognizing with some of these folks of either they don't want to. That's one challenge and thing to understand and learn. Maybe two, like you said, it's difficulty in terms of the learning on how to do the process.
Yep.
Like I've learned how to set goals. We were all taught to do that. This taking it down a step. I'm big in, by the way, if you've never read Atomic Habits, I listen to it every year, read it. One of the most impactful books for me, and where some of this comments are coming from is he really talks a lot about this. So any of your listeners that haven't, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah. I think it's probably the most highly recommended book on the podcast.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I've got a copy around here somewhere. I know people are downloading this. At minimum, guys, you got to get this on your audiobook.
Yeah. And I do it every year, first week of January, and throughout the year, I listen to it because there's so much information. I always pick up something different. But I think part, like you said, is how do we do that? It's the process to be able to take a goal. We've all set those. Now, how do I work backwards to now create all the little things, all the steps that I need to take in order to achieve that?
Yeah.
And then what's important and what's not? How do I filter that process? So I think there's a ton of education that still needs to happen. I'm learning, right? We all are. I've made tons of mistakes. We all have. The minute we think we don't need to learn and continue adapting and growing ourselves is going to be a bad day for all of us. And so we have to continue to figure out how we evolve through that process. And shows like this, those books, sales training that you guys offer through your program, I think is vitally important, especially to a younger group of sales folks or leaders that haven't been through these big cycles that we're seeing in agriculture,
right.
That haven't been doing it for 20 plus years and have the skill set or the experience of how do we overcome these? How do we think differently? And so getting those folks in a room together or through these training sessions, I think can be super impactful. So
Yep. I 100% agree. Obviously we're in the space, and so I'm going to agree with that. But however you get it, this one thing that that's been really, really telltale just recently with a lot of our clients that are going through our coaching programs. We have about 200 people on the coaching roster right now. And so and that fluctuates, right? We have people rotating off and rotating on as we run events throughout the year. By the end of the year, that should be about 400, right? So we'll double it by December. And what's interesting when you back when you and I first met, right, we were doing a 2-day training plus 90-day coaching setup. That was our, and we were the only one in the business doing it at that time. There was very little competition around that kind of thing using virtual coaching. People were just happy we were doing any sort of reinforcement at all. Right.
Especially, Mark, and you guys were really a niche focused in
Yeah.
agriculture.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
still are.
even
Yeah.
still today, that is a huge gap I see in our industry of actually someone that focuses in our market that
Hmm.
has an understanding of the cycles and all the challenges that you
Right.
mentioned. So,
Yep. So yeah, well, yeah, appreciate that. So, but my point when sharing this is what happened when COVID happened, right? We were unique in our Zoom based coaching prior to 2020. Now everybody's on Zoom all the time.
yeah.
And so there's no uniqueness, right? It's just another meeting on the calendar. So we're innovating. We've got some really innovative things. I'm going to leave that as a cliffhanger. We've got some very, very innovative things that we're doing in the market to innovate beyond what we've historically done. But the number one piece of feedback, and this is just an easy thing. You don't need us to go do this. Anybody can go deploy this in your organization today. Podcasts are such a great way to learn. This is one of them. Obviously, there are plenty more. What I'm hearing from a lot of our participants right now is that they actually listen to this show. They're more likely to listen to this show than to get on another coaching call.
Really?
They come to the coaching call, but they prefer to get the reinforcement through their earbuds or truck speakers while they're driving down the road.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I can not put coaching calls on my calendar. And we'll just put it all into podcasts. I can run that an infinite number of times. Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Right. So there's more to come and more to learn on that. But that's just like people are digesting it. Even busy agronomists. I was talking to one guy today. He's like, it might take me all day to get through your half-hour show, but I
But
finished it.
that's a really impactful thing, Mark.
Yep.
Like when I was a younger sales rep, putting on 30, 40, 50,000 miles a year in my truck, we didn't have podcasts. Right now I'm really dating myself. We didn't have information like this that gave you insight from,
Yeah.
leaders or, just something that would help either support your foundational beliefs
Mm-hmm.
and how your way of thinking or challenge your way of thinking and help guide you down the right direction. So for you to be hearing that from agronomists or sales rep that,
Yep.
hey, in between my day, in between sales calls, meetings, if I'm out pulling tissue samples, like whatever it is, they're listening to things like that. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is a significant change in our industry and just change
Big
in
time.
terms of people, and that there is a willingness, there is a need, there is a
Mm-hmm.
want to continue improving,
Yep.
right? And
100%.
finding ways to build our skill sets and our way of thinking and creating these habits. So
Yeah.
that's really impactful. We need to continue doing more of it.
Yeah. We're doing a lot of private podcasts for our clients now.
Okay.
So just one of the ways they're like, well, we need to teach them XYZ. So we're doing a 5-part onboarding series to help communicate the culture of a cooperative.
Mm.
Right. And like, how do we get it in a way that people actually do this? And,
Yeah.
they were going to go the same old, like, let's do them on a Zoom webinar across the, I'm like, no, don't, please. Like, nobody's going to watch it.
Well, I think that's
you
important
know?
because then you can get feedback and you focus on themes, right?
Yeah.
If they're, you talk a lot about culture. It's
Mm-hmm.
so important in any organization, and we all know where our strengths are in certain companies and our culture and not. And so, if you can work with an organization and there's one or two pieces of like focus themes to do some of those podcasts on,
Mm-hmm.
and you can spend time and attention to help train employees on that or focus on improvement areas specific to those areas, that can be really impactful for an
Right.
organization to grab a hold of and custom tailor it. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Super, super powerful. Takes a little bit of time, but once you got it done, you have it and you can run it an infinite number of times.
yeah, good for
So,
you. It's great
yeah.
to see how you guys have evolved over the years.
Yeah, well, you too, man. It's been very cool catching up on this one. We've got at least one more topic that we're going to do a show on yet, like probably in the next few months. So look forward to
Okay.
that one, guys. Jake and I are going to jump on again. But man, I really appreciate you doing this. I know you got a busy schedule and your time and wisdom are appreciated.
Yeah, Mark, again, appreciate the opportunity. Have loved seeing what you guys have built, the organization, and all the other guests that you've had on the show over the last couple of years. I'm humble in that I've had this opportunity. And as I said today, there's a lot of things that I have hopefully been able to share with this group that
Yeah.
mentors have shared with me, and along all the many mistakes I've made through my career and things I'm focused on. If there's one or two things your listeners can take away from today, then I've done my job and you have as well, and happy to get back on and talk through other topics at any time. So thanks again for having me.
Perfect, man. Yeah. Thanks for being on.